Lesson 20 workbook examples. Okay, and we're going to jump down to question 13. Use the equation y squared equals 2x plus 8y minus x squared minus 17 to answer the questions. What is the equation in standard form, and does the given equation represent a circle, a point, or an empty set? Okay, so we need to put it into standard form, which is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So the first thing that I'm going to do with the equation that is given, the equation of y squared equals 2x plus 8y minus x squared minus 17. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of these to the other side, and I'm going to do that by our inverse operation. So 2x is positive, assumed to be positive, so I would subtract a 2x and subtract 2x. Okay, well, y squared and 2x are not like terms, so I have y squared minus 2x equals 2x minus 2x is 0 plus 8y minus x squared minus 17. Okay, and then 0 plus 8y is just 8y, so we would have y squared minus 2x equals 8y minus x squared minus 17. So now I'm going to move the 8y over. Since it's positive up there, we're gonna subtract. That's the inverse operation, so we're gonna subtract that. So we have no like terms to 8y, so we're just gonna rewrite it y squared minus 2x minus 8y equals 8y minus 8y is 0 minus x squared minus 17. 0 minus x squared is just minus x squared, so we have y squared minus 2x minus 8y equals minus x squared minus 17. So since this is negative, we're going to add. That's the inverse operation. We're going to add. And since x squared and y squared are not like terms, x and x squared are not like terms, y and x squared are not like terms, we're just going to write it all out. So we're going to have y squared minus 2x minus 8y plus x squared. It's going to equal minus x squared plus x squared is 0 minus 17. Now 0 minus 17 is just 17, so we are going to have y squared minus 2x minus 8y plus x squared equals minus 17. Alright, and now we're going to regroup. I want my y squared and my y next to each other, and I want my x and my x squared next to each other. So I'm going to take the entire symbol in front of the x squared. So x squared is positive, and we're going to take that entire symbol minus 2x. And then we have y squared, and y squared is assumed to be positive because there's not a negative sign. And then we have minus 8y. And that's going to equal minus 17. Okay, now the next step that we need to do is we need to add right here and right here. We need to complete our square. So -2 is our b, so we are going to add -2 halves squared. And for the y terms, -8 is our b, so we're going to add -8 halves squared. And I need to add it to this side as well. What you add to the left side of the equal sign, you have to add to the right side of the equal sign. And so we're going to end up with x squared minus 2x plus, well, -2 divided by 2 is -1. -1 squared is 1. So then we have plus y squared minus 8y. -8 divided by 2 is -4. -4 squared is 16. That's going to equal -17 plus 1 plus 16. That's what these terms reduce down to. So I'm just going to write plus 1 and plus 16. I'm running out of room here. The next thing we need to do, since this is my x squared, x and a constant, that's going to form one perfect square. Since this is my y squared, y and a constant, that's going to form the other perfect square in our standard form right there. So we're going to end up with that. And if you had paid attention throughout the lesson, we would have x plus, and this term was b halves. So what is -2 divided by 2? It is -1. So we would write that down. And then we would have y plus, what was that b halves? We had -8 divided by 2, which was -4. And then -17 plus 1 is -16, plus 16 is 0. So then we have x minus 1 squared plus y minus 4 squared is equal to 0. Okay, so then what is the equation in standard form? Well, it is x minus 1 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 0. That's the one that we have. And then does the given equation represent a circle, a point, or an empty set? Okay, so then we're looking for our radius, which is right here. Now, this is radius squared. That's r squared. So I'm going to think to myself, okay, well, is it 0? Is it greater than 0, or is it less than 0? If it's 0, it is a point. If it is greater than 0, it is a circle that has some radius. And if it's less than 0, it doesn't exist. It's an empty set. Does not exist. Okay, so then, well, it's equal to 0, so that means I have no distance, I have no radius, so it is a point. So the equation represents a point because the right side of the equation in standard form is 0. We're going to submit that for grading. Great job. Okay, the next question, use the equation x squared equals -8x minus 14 minus y squared minus 4y to answer the questions. What is the equation in standard form? Does the given equation represent a circle, a point, or an empty set? Okay, so let's start all over again. So we have x squared, and I'm going to just split this down the middle right now. X squared equals minus 8x minus 14 minus y squared minus 4y. And we want everything that has an x or y or a y squared moved to the left hand side. So I'm going to add 8x and add 8x. Okay, x squared and 8x are not like terms, so we're going to have this right now as x squared plus 8x equals, alright, now negative 8x plus 8x is going to be 0 minus 14 minus y squared minus 4y. Okay, 0 minus 14 is just minus 14, so we have x squared plus 8x equals minus 14 minus y squared minus 4y. Okay, this is a constant, so I'm going to leave it alone. The next one I want to move over is the y squared. Since it's negative, we're going to add. That's our inverse operation. So we're going to add y squared to both sides. So we have x squared and y squared are not like terms. 8x and y squared are not like terms, so we're going to just write everything down. So x squared plus 8x plus y squared equals negative 14, and negative y squared plus y squared is 0 minus 4y. Okay, negative 14 plus 0 is just negative 14, so we have x squared plus 8x plus y squared equals negative 14 minus 4y. Alright, negative 14 is our constant still, and we want to move our y to the left hand side. So since it's a negative 4y, we're going to add 4y. And we're going to add 4y to the left hand side of the equal sign. So then we have x squared plus 8x plus y squared plus 4y equals negative 14. Negative 4y plus 4y is 0. Alright, so now negative 14 plus 0 is just negative 14. So we have x squared plus 8x plus y squared plus 4y is going to equal negative 14. Alright, so that is the very first step when we're converting to standard form, is we want to make sure all of any term that has an x squared, an x, or a y squared, or a y, we want to move them all to the left hand side, and we want to keep all of our constants or all of our whole numbers on the right hand side. The next thing that we need to do is complete the square, and we're going to do that by adding right here, right here, right here, and right here. So we're going to add whatever is attached to this x. So we're going to add 8 halves, and we're always going to half it, and it's going to be squared. We're going to add 8 halves squared there, and here we are always going to add whatever's attached to the y, and it's going to be divided by 2 squared. And what you do to one side, like I said in question 13, you do to the other. I just ran out of room. So we're going to add 8 halves squared, and we're going to add 4 halves squared. So then we're going to end up with x squared plus 8x 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16 plus y squared plus 4y plus 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. That's going to equal, there's our equal sign, negative 14 plus 16 plus 4. Okay, so now let's come up here and rewrite it. So we're going to have x squared plus 8x plus 16 plus y squared plus 4y plus 4. And that's going to equal, well, negative 14 plus 16 is 2, and 2 plus 4 is 6. Alright. Right now I'm going to pause and just say, if it was asking, does the given equation represent a circle, a point, or an empty set, we could answer that right now, because this term is our r squared, and it's greater than 0, so that means there is a radius. So yes, this does represent a circle, and the equation of it, this created a perfect square, and we created a perfect square for our y terms. So x plus, and in the lessons I know it said plus b halves right there. So our b halves is right here, 8 divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And that's being squared, plus our y group, y plus, and again it had b halves, and for this, for the y group, our b halves was 4 divided by 2, which is 2. And that's going to be squared, and that's going to equal 6. Alright, so we're looking for x plus 4 plus squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 6, and that's there. And then the equation represents a circle because the right side of the equation in standard form is positive. Okay, there's question 13 and question 12. All right. So use the equation x squared plus y squared minus 28x plus 14y plus 245 equals 0 to answer the questions. What is the equation in standard form? Does the given equation represent a circle, a point, or an empty set? Alright, well, thank goodness that we don't have quite as much work to do on this one. So the first thing that we want to do is have all of our x squared, y squareds, x's, and y's on our left side, and all of our constants on the right side. So the only constant we have is 245. So I want to move that to the right hand side because all of this is where it needs to be on the left hand side. So we're going to subtract 245. So we have x squared plus y squared minus 28x plus 14y plus 0 is equal to, oh, I forgot to write it on the other side of the equal sign. 0 minus 245 is minus 245. Okay, so then if I look at this, 14y plus 0 is just 0. So we're going to have x squared. And I'm going to rearrange these right now. And I want my x's next all together. So I'm going to move minus 28x plus y squared. I just picked it up and moved it, including the sign, and then plus 14y. And that's going to equal negative 245. Alright, so now that we have all of our terms with an x variable and all of our terms with y's collected and our constant on the right hand side, we're going to complete the square. So again, we're going to add right here, and we're going to add the same things on the other side. So we're going to add our b for our x's is negative 28 divided by 2, and that's going to be squared. And then we're going to add our b for our y is 14 divided by 2 squared, and then we're going to add the same things here, negative 28 halves squared and 14 halves squared. Okay, so then we have x squared minus 28x plus negative 28 divided by 2 is negative 14. Negative 14 squared, I want to say is like 244. So we would type in parentheses negative 14 parentheses caret 2. 196. Alright, so we're going to add 196 plus y squared plus 14y plus 14 divided by 2 is 7. 7 squared is 49. And that's going to equal negative 245 plus 196 plus 49. Okay, and since we have our calculator up really fast, I'm just going to type in negative 245 plus 196 plus 49. And that equals 0. Okay, and then we're going to write our perfect square for that. So that's x plus, and what was our b halves? Well, negative 28 divided by 2 was negative 14. And that's going to be squared plus, and then if you factored it or remember the shortcut, it's y plus 14 divided by 2 is 7. And that's squared, and we have it equal to 0. So x plus a negative 14 is just x minus 14 being squared plus y plus 7 squared, and that's going to equal 0. So that we're looking for our equation x minus 14 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals 0. And since it equals 0, there is no radius, there's no distance. So it represents a point. And then we're going to check that. Okay. Question 10 is exactly like question 11. And you would do the exact same process, so I'm going to actually skip that and 9, and I'm going to jump to question 8. So a circle has the equation of x squared plus 12y plus 22x plus y squared minus 167 equals 0. Alton must convert this equation to standard form. He writes a description of the steps he can take to convert the equation, but he is missing some of the information. Read his steps carefully, then follow the instructions. Okay, step 1. Group the terms that include the same variable together with descending exponents on one side of the equation and add blank to both sides. Alright, so the first thing that we did is we added our constant to both sides so that it could be on the other side. And since it's a negative 167, that's why you would add 167. So blank 1 is going to be 167. He's moving his constant over. Step 2, add blank to both sides to complete the square for the x's. Okay, so that's where he's jumping to our step like this. So he's taking the b halves. So after he did step 1, he would have an equation that looked like this: x squared plus 22x. That's what it means by putting the same variables together with descending exponents, x squared and x, descending exponents. And then we would have y squared plus 12y equals 167. So that's after step 1. And then, he is saying add blank to both sides to complete the square for the x's. Okay, so I'm looking for my x's, and what did we add? Well, we always add b, the number attached to the x, halves. So we're going to add 22 halves squared to both sides. So what is 22 divided by 2? That's 11. 11 squared is 121. So blank 2 is going to be 121. We add 121 to both sides. And then step 3, add blank to both sides to complete the square for the y's. Okay, so now we're looking at our y. Whatever number is attached to the y, you're going to add half of it being squared. So 12 halves squared. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 being squared is 36. So we are adding 36 to both sides. Step 4, factor the trinomial of the x's and rewrite as a perfect square. Okay, so then that's really messy. So it's wanting this step. If this is our last problem, but it's wanting this step. So if you remember, it's always going to be an x plus whatever b halves is, whatever's inside those parentheses, and that would have been 11, and it would have been squared. Okay, so blank 4 is going to be x plus 11 squared, right there. And then blank 5, factor the trinomial of the y's and rewrite as a perfect square. Okay, that's this step. Factor the trinomial. Trinomial, 1, 2, 3, try. That's what it's referring to. And that would be our y plus, what is 12 divided by 2? And that's 6 squared. So it's whatever is inside our parentheses that we add. So blank 5 is 6. Whoops, no it's not. It's y plus 6 squared. Alright, and then the standard form of the equation is blank. And so we have half of it, and that's going to equal, we need to know what 167 is plus 121 plus 36. So what's 167 plus 121 plus 36? 324. So we're looking for an x plus 11 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals 324. And there's our blanks for question 8. There you have it.